Hello.
911, there was a shooting at Safeway.
Okay, what do you mean?
Ina and Oracle, where Gabrielle Giffords was. And I do believe Gabrielle Giffords was hit.
Tonight, we dive deep into the sick, demented mind behind that terrifying, hellish gun rampage in Arizona. Cops say 22-year-old Jared Loughner went on a shooting spree during Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords' meet and greet at a Tucson supermarket. 14 people wounded, 6 people killed, including a 9-year-old girl who was born on 9/11. Here are her devastated mother and father.
I'm so proud of her, and I just want everyone to know, and I think a lot of people that know us and knew Christina Taylor, that, you know, we got robbed. She got robbed of a beautiful life that she could have had.
Just hours ago, the alleged gunman was hauled before a judge. His own classmates predicted this guy would do something just like this. Tonight, Jared Loughner is charged with first-degree murder and attempted murder, and he could face the death penalty. What investigators are still trying to figure out is what was the motive for this vicious attack? Could this disturbed young man have had his sights on this particular congresswoman for 3 long years? Cops say they opened a safe in the suspect's home, and they found a letter from this congresswoman thanking her accused attacker for attending a 2007 event. They also discovered an envelope. In it, Loughner's signature and the words, "I planned ahead, my assassination," and this congresswoman's name. It is chilling. Straight out to CNN correspondent Ted Rollins, who just attended the suspect's first court appearance. Ted, how did the suspect, who's been described as extremely weird and mentally ill, behave in court?
This young man knew what was going on, understood not only what the judge was saying, but what his attorney was telling him, and he answered the judge in a clear, strong voice.
Were his family members there? Because everybody's asking, what's up with the mom and dad?
No family members there, and that is one thing that obviously his parents may have the key here, because what on earth would have pushed a 22-year-old young man to do such a horrific thing, allegedly? Getting inside this guy's mind is going to be difficult for authorities because he's not cooperating with police. The parents apparently are to some degree. Hopefully, clearly, they have some insight into this young man, and those two, I'm sure, have a lot to say and know a lot. Whether or not there were warning signs, we don't know yet.
Well, everybody said that this guy was, let's call it what it is, a weirdo, okay? There were a symphony of warning bells before this sickening shooting spree, and many people suspected for a long time that something was very off with this guy. Listen to what one of his teachers told CNN.
This guy was mentally disturbed. He was very isolated. I was scared of what he could do. I wasn't scared of him physically, but I was scared of him bringing a weapon to class.
And he freaked out his own classmates. In one email obtained by the New York Times, a classmate wrote, quote, "Hopefully he will be out of class very soon and not come back with an automatic weapon." After several very weird outbursts, he was actually suspended from school and then eventually dropped out. The college sent him a letter saying he could only come back if he got a psychiatric evaluation. He didn't do that. Dr. Dale Archer, what's your diagnosis? What do you think is wrong with this guy?
I think he's clearly psychotic, Jane. He's probably paranoid schizophrenic. And you're absolutely right. The warning signs were all there to get help for him, because this classmate said he was weird, said he was scary, said they were afraid he would bring a gun. The teachers were afraid of him. One teacher said he didn't even want to turn around and write on the blackboard because he was afraid what the kid may do. The school, when they kicked him out, said you need a psych eval to prove that you're not a danger to self or others. So they did everything right to protect the school, but they did nothing to help him.
Loughner reportedly met her back in 2007 when she was holding a very similar event. Perhaps since then, he's been stalking her and developing a grudge against her. She's still in critical condition. Miraculously, doctors are growing more optimistic that she will survive her gunshot wound to the head at point-blank range. Joining me now is Mary Jo Buttafuoco, author of Getting It Through My Thick Skull. Mary, you were shot in the head by the lover of your then husband, and so you know what it's like to be literally shot at point-blank range. What, and let's hope she comes through this, but what kind of recovery could this congresswoman be facing?
Oh, my heart goes out to all of these victims. It's just the beginning of hell for all of them. And what kind of a prognosis? She's going to have a long, long recovery, as well will the other victims of the shootings, because bullets do a lot of damage.
Well, what kind of recovery? That's what I want to know. We all know that she's going to have a long recovery, and I hope she gets through this critical phase and has a long recovery. What I'm asking you, since you've been shot, is what kind of recovery? What did you go through? Did you have to go through therapy, physical therapy? What happened?
Yes. Physical therapy. After I was shot, I couldn't walk. I had lost most of my blood. I had to have transfusions. I lost the hearing in my ear. I had no balance. I weighed 89 pounds by the time I could stand up. The therapy to get me to walk again and talk again, and my motor functions. I mean, I was blessed that they came back. In her case, this went through the brain. I did not have it go through my brain. It hit my temporomandibular joint and went down, so it shattered my jawbone, and that's what saved my life from it going through my head. I don't know, Jane. The doctors sound very optimistic that it was a clean breakthrough, went in one way and came out the other and didn't break apart and shatter. I've got a lot of shrapnel in my head. That's something that sounds like she doesn't have.
Well, let's hope. Absolutely. We all pray that she's going to recover completely. But obviously, you're giving us an insight into it's going to be a long road ahead, a very tough road. Steve Kardian, you're a former police detective. What are we going to do about this problem so that we don't have to, every few months, cover another one of these horrific national traumas of people who are Looney Tunes getting a hold of a gun and going on rampages at supermarkets or wherever they choose?
Well, Jane, we see that we have a commonality here in that was he that good? Is the system that bad? Or is it a combination of both? Now, we see that in every case that I've studied, whether it be Columbine, whether it be Virginia Tech, that somebody knew something. Someone knew something about him preparing to do this. And we need the public.
He was talking about mind control. He thought he had control over people's minds. He was talking about conscious dreaming. I mean, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out this guy was completely nuts. Why was he allowed to buy a gun legally?
Because in Arizona, you can buy a gun basically with a license. But somebody out there knew that he was planning this, whether it was a school teacher, whether it was one of his friends, whether it was somebody in his family. They knew that he was capable and that he was going to plan out something like this and cause mass casualties.
Yeah, well, we got to figure out a better way, people. There's got to be a better way to handle this. I don't think the founding fathers thought of, young men who were mentally disturbed and on drugs with Uzi submachine guns. That wasn't their idea.